Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of History Quest. This month we'll be talking about Karns City, one of the lost towns in McLeod County that was on the shores of Lake Marion, north of Broughton, Minnesota. So stay tuned for some great historic information on one of McLeod County's favorite lost towns. On the shores of Lake Marion, a group of Dakota warriors peered out from behind the tree line. It was August, and it was hot. Yet the dense canopy of trees protected the warriors from the harsh sun. And with the gentle breeze blowing across the lake into their faces, it made for a near comfortable place to be standing on such a warm summer day. As pleasant as it was under the trees, comfort was far from the minds of these warriors. They were at war, and in their sights was a small settlement along the northwest shore of the lake. There wasn't much to see. A few small clearings cut into the woodline, a hut with a crudely thatched roof, and a tall two-story log building with no windows. Strewn about the place were a few empty bottles, some old wooden crates, and an old rusty axe wedged into a rotten stump. Missing from the settlement were people. It was clear to the men peering out of the tree line that no one lived in these buildings, and that the settlement had been abandoned for some time. The thatch on the hut had many openings gone unrepaired, and moss grew along the shaded side of the log cabin. Yet they knew full well that some settlers lived in far worse conditions than these. So they stood in wait to make certain the place was deserted before venturing out into the open to destroy the dwelling. This they would do with burning torches, and once done, the warriors walked away while the city of Karns, Minnesota became nothing more than a footnote to history. Karns City was founded in 1856 as part of the great land rush to take place in Minnesota. Still a territory, settlers rushed into the North Country. Though most came for the mere reason of starting a life for themselves, others came looking to stake their legacy by way of creating communities. As a result, hundreds of settlements were created that never took hold. Many were referred to as paper towns, communities that existed on paper alone and never grew to be the centers of civilization. One such town was Karns City, a city known today for its main promoter, Edwin Whitfield. Whitfield came to Minnesota in 1856. With him, he brought paint, pencils, and a palette. His intention was to work for promoters of paper towns by traveling to the projected town sites and penciling out a sketch to lure settlers in. Upon reaching the North Country, Whitfield fell in with a group named the Candy-Ojai Town Site Company. They took claim upon a plot of land on the northwest shore of Lake Marion, and the company decided to plat the town and name it Karns, the namesake being Samuel D. Karns, secretary of the company. In 1856, the Town Site Company began by building a two-story log cabin with no windows, meant to act as a hotel for travelers coming through. In the following year, however, a financial panic hit the nation. Money became scarce all over America, and desolate places like Minnesota were hit the hardest. As a result, Karns City was abandoned and became a phantom town, existing on paper alone. It had stayed that way until a hot August day in 1862, when the name of Karns City was itself a casualty of history. Here we are at the shores of Lake Marion, north of Broughton, Minnesota. If you look directly behind me and to the north a little bit in the clearing, you'll see the site where Karns City once stood. Karns City, of course, was the paper settlement created in 1856 by Edwin Whitfield. came from the Candy Ojai town site company, and he located a town site right over there by this clearing. They built a 2-story log cabin, which was the only structure that was still standing in 1862 when the Dakota Indians came and burnt the settlement down. By that time, the settlement was abandoned, and as you can see, there's nothing standing there today in the area where the settlement once stood. Thought I heard something behind me. Thought it was the monster, but I guess not. I think it was just someone screwing with me. Anyway, back in 1856, there was a group of settlers got lost out here. And it was this giant monster, they think, that killed it. Because when they went out to the site, they didn't find any of the settlers, but they found blood. And they found these weird-looking, like, 3-toed tracks walking away from the site. And all the stuff was still there, so it certainly wasn't like robbers or highwaymen or, renegades or anything like that. And what was weird was behind these footprints were like single file human footprints, like they were walking right behind, like this giant thing let them out of there. Well, they went into the woods, and then they lost sight of all the tracks, and nobody ever knows what happens to it. The strange thing is, though, those first settlers that were here on Lake Marion always reported hearing weird sounds at night, sounding like somebody breaking tree limbs off, and not like small tree limbs like a deer, like a whole big, huge tree limb being just crunched right off the tree. And nobody could explain what it was. And some even thought they saw eyes in the dark, like glowing red eyes looking at them. And nobody ever found out what it was. Well, by about 1900, as the area was getting really settled, the sightings kind of stopped. But every once in a while, you'll hear from somebody who's out on Lake Marion, and from shore, they'll see some eyes or they'll hear some weird sounds, and they say, "There he is. It's Lake Marion Man." So that's our show. Thank you for watching this month, both of you out there. I just wanted to let you know a few things upcoming for the Historical Society. With the fair in August, I'll be on the Legacy stage August 17th at 1 p.m. and I will be talking actually about the stories that I write for the Hutch Leader. I had some requests to do that this year. Another event we have coming up is our monthly breakfast club, and that will be on the 4th Tuesday of August at 10:30 in the morning. And what we're doing is we do 1 month we have a speaker, and then the next month we do a roundtable discussion. This month is a roundtable discussion on the Dakota conflict, otherwise known as the Sioux Uprising of 1862. So I highly recommend stopping in for that. It should be a great discussion, and like always, there'll be coffee, donuts, cookies, and that sort of thing. Coming up in September, we have 2 authors. We have Craig Bishop, and then we have another author coming who wrote a book about the Sioux Uprising, and she'll be speaking a little bit on that. Date is to be determined for that yet, so make sure to check on Facebook or call the museum. And then also for our September Breakfast Club, we'll have Gary Lenz from Winstead coming to talk about McLeod County Railroad history. Just a quick update on the construction at the museum. We now have a full cement pad out there with our footings. Everything had been poured, and they are currently doing a firewall going up the west side of the museum. The lumber's actually arrived on site. They've started construction on the second set of bathrooms inside the current museum. So it's going up real fast, and we are really hoping that it's going to be done and ready for people to go into by the end of 2019. That being said, you can still come down and visit the museum. We have had great attendance this year. We've been seeing a lot of kids come down to the museum. We do have the scavenger hunt with prizes for the kids, and also we have a kids reader that they can pick up when they leave. It has coloring pages in there, crossword puzzles, word finds, little short stories about different things, in history related to McLeod County or just related to American history, so they can pick one of those up on the way out as well. But those are the kind of the big things going on at the museum this year. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.